First contact in crisis. Dr. Sarah Chen stared through the observation dome of Research Station Helios, watching violet lightning tear across the perpetual storm clouds of Kepler 186f. 3 years into her assignment at this remote outpost, she'd grown accustomed to the planet's harsh beauty. The station's mission was simple: study the unique atmospheric conditions that made this world uninhabitable to most forms of life. But tonight, something was different. A warning klaxon shattered her contemplation. Unidentified vessel on collision course, the station's AI announced. Impact imminent. Sarah rushed to the medical bay, her mind racing. The station wasn't equipped for emergency landings. They weren't supposed to get visitors out here. 582 light-years from Earth, through the reinforced windows, she watched as a sleek craft, unlike anything in the human fleet, streaked through the violet-tinged clouds trailing plasma. The impact shook the entire station. Sarah grabbed her emergency kit and sealed her environment suit, knowing that whatever, or whoever, was in that ship would need help if they'd survived. Station protocol dictated waiting for security clearance, but she could already see the ship's hull breaking down under the caustic atmosphere. Dr. Chen, protocol requires. The AI began. Override Medical Emergency Protocol Alpha. Sarah cut in. Life signs. 1 signature detected. Biological pattern unknown. Sarah cycled through the airlock and made her way across the landing pad. The alien vessel had carved a groove into the station's outer deck, its once pristine hull now corroded by the acidic atmosphere. As she approached, a section of the hull suddenly liquefied, revealing a figure inside. Sarah's breath caught. The being before her was humanoid but clearly alien. Its skin seemed to shift between deep purple and midnight blue, with bioluminescent patterns pulsing beneath the surface. It wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor, now partially melted by the crash. Most striking were its eyes. 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, each containing swirling galaxies of silver. The alien reached out with a 6-fingered hand, speaking in a language that seemed to resonate in Sarah's chest rather than her ears. The universal translator in her suit struggled for a moment before rendering. Help. Royal bloodline must not end. Sarah didn't hesitate. Despite the alien's exotic appearance, she could recognize critical injuries. The being's bioluminescence was flickering erratically, and what she assumed was blood, a shimmering, mercury-like substance, seeped from multiple wounds. "I'm a doctor," she said, hoping the translator would convey her intent. "I need to move you before the atmosphere breaches your ship completely." The alien's eyes dimmed momentarily. Fear. Acceptance. Before nodding. As Sarah helped them from the wreckage, she noticed intricate markings on their armor that reminded her of neural networks. The alien was surprisingly light, almost ethereal despite their impressive height. Inside the station's medical bay, Sarah faced her first challenge. Her scanners were calibrated for human physiology. They barely registered her patient's existence. She'd have to rely on first principles and observation. "I am Vexera," the alien managed between labored breaths. "Third sovereign of the luminary consensus. Our ship. Attacked. Betrayal. Save your strength," Sarah advised, noticing how the being's bioluminescent patterns grew fainter with each word. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, and right now, your title doesn't matter. You're my patient." She noted how Vexera's mercury-like blood seemed to respond to electrical fields, leading her to hypothesize about their biological systems. The armor, now carefully removed, revealed what appeared to be a crystalline exoskeleton beneath. Several segments were cracked, leaking the luminescent fluid. Sarah worked through the night, using every tool and technique at her disposal. She discovered that low-frequency electromagnetic pulses could help stabilize the alien's vital signs, and that their crystalline structure could be repaired using modified bone knitting techniques. Throughout it all, she maintained a running dialogue, explaining each procedure, something she'd always done with human patients to keep them calm. As the station's artificial dawn approached, Vexera's bioluminescence had stabilized into a steady pulse. The Sovereign's three eyes focused on Sarah with new clarity. "You saved my life," Vexera observed, their translated voice stronger now. "Despite not knowing what I am. Despite the risk." Sarah checked the latest readings, allowing herself a small smile. "That's what doctors do. Though I admit, this is definitely a first for me." In the consensus, Vexera continued, most would not have helped an unknown entity, especially not one who could bring danger to their doorstep. They paused, their patterns shifting to a deep blue. "Those who attacked us, they will come looking." Sarah met the Sovereign's trifold gaze steadily. "Then we'll deal with that when it happens. Right now, you need to rest and heal." As she turned to update the station's logs, Sarah realized that her medical training had never covered this scenario. What to do when you become the only human doctor to ever treat alien royalty. She knew that this night would change everything. For her, for humanity, and for whatever civilization Vexera represented. Outside, the violet lightning continued its eternal dance across Kepler 186f's sky, indifferent to the history being made within the station's walls. But Sarah Chen had just taken the first step in bridging the gap between two worlds, armed with nothing more than medical knowledge and the fundamental human drive to help those in need. Universal medicine. Dawn Cycle brought new challenges to Research Station Helios. Dr. Sarah Chen found herself facing a patient whose biology defied everything she'd learned in medical school. Vexera's vital signs fluctuated in patterns she couldn't quite understand, and their crystalline exoskeleton emitted frequencies that interfered with standard medical equipment. "Your technology," Vexera observed, watching Sarah recalibrate her diagnostic tools for the fifth time. "It's primitive by consensus standards. Yet you managed to save me." Sarah adjusted the electromagnetic field generator she'd rigged from station equipment. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. Your biology responds to electromagnetic fields in fascinating ways. The patterns remind me of liquid crystals." "We are crystalline beings," Vexera confirmed, their three eyes swirling with silver patterns. "Our bodies exist in a state of quantum coherence. What you call blood, we call resonance fluid. It carries both energy and information throughout our forms." This revelation sparked an idea in Sarah's mind. She'd been treating Vexera's injuries as separate problems: the cracked exoskeleton, the leaked resonance fluid, the erratic bioluminescence. But if their entire body functioned as a quantum coherent system, "You're not just a collection of organs and fluids," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. "You're more like a living quantum computer. The bioluminescence, it's not just decoration, is it? It's a visual representation of your quantum state." Vexera's patterns shifted to a shade Sarah hadn't seen before, perhaps their equivalent of surprise. "You understand more than most outsiders." "Yes, our patterns reflect our internal harmony. Right now, mine indicate significant disruption." Sarah began adjusting her treatment approach. She modified the station's quantum communication array to generate precise, targeted fields that matched Vexera's natural frequencies. The effect was immediate. The Sovereign's bioluminescent patterns brightened and stabilized. "The pain, it's lessening," Vexera said, their voice carrying a note of wonder. "How did you know?" "I didn't," Sarah admitted. "But in medicine, we often say that healing is about restoring balance. Your biology might be alien to me, but that principle seems to be universal." As she worked, Sarah found herself learning more about her patient's civilization. The luminary consensus was an ancient coalition of crystalline species spanning thousands of star systems. They viewed organic life as chaotic, unpredictable, which explained their initial hesitation to interact with humanity. "Our scholars believed that carbon-based life was too unstable for true civilization," Vexera explained. "Yet here you are, proving that wisdom can exist in unexpected forms." Sarah smiled as she adjusted the quantum field. "We humans have a saying: the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know." Your biology is teaching me that lesson all over again. The next challenge came when Sarah discovered that Vexera's exoskeleton wasn't just armor. It was a living part of them, growing and adapting like coral. Traditional bonding materials wouldn't work for repairs. She spent hours studying the crystalline structure, finally realizing that it grew in response to specific harmonic frequencies. Using this knowledge, Sarah modified a sonic medical tool to emit the exact frequencies needed. Under her guidance, the crystal began to regrow, rebuilding the damaged sections of Vexera's exoskeleton. Remarkable, Vexera murmured, watching their body heal. You've mastered techniques in days that took our healers generations to perfect. Not mastered, Sarah corrected. I'm just adapting. That's what humans do best. We observe, we learn, we try new things. Sometimes we fail, but we keep trying. As she worked, Sarah couldn't help but notice changes in herself. Her understanding of medicine was expanding beyond anything she'd imagined. Every solution she devised for Vexera's treatment opened new possibilities, new ways of thinking about healing. But their time was running out. Station sensors had detected multiple ships entering the system, likely the same forces that had attacked Vexera. Soon, Sarah's medical challenges would be overshadowed by political ones. They're coming, Vexera said, their patterns shifting to darker hues. The dissenting elements. They believe our civilization has grown stagnant, that we must evolve or perish. They see my lineage as a symbol of the old ways. Sarah checked the quantum field readings one last time. You're not fully healed yet. Another few days and... We don't have days, Vexera interrupted. Doctor, Sarah, you've done more than heal my body. You've shown me that our assumptions about organic life were wrong. Perhaps this encounter was meant to be. Outside the medical bay's windows, the eternal storm clouds of Kepler 186 F churned with increasing violence. Sarah Chen stood beside her alien patient, watching the lightning illuminate the darkness. She had crossed the boundaries of known medicine, challenged the assumptions of an ancient civilization, and formed a bond that transcended biology. But the real test was yet to come. As the enemy ships drew closer, Sarah knew she would have to defend not just her patient, but the very principle that had guided her actions, that life, in all its forms, was worth protecting. The quantum fields hummed softly in the background, maintaining the delicate balance of Vexera's healing body. Two beings from vastly different worlds, united by the universal language of medicine, prepared to face whatever came next. Would you like me to continue with part 3? The story is building toward the confrontation with the dissenting elements, while maintaining its focus on the medical and cultural aspects that make it unique. Shadows of War. Research Station Helios was never meant to be a fortress. Its reinforced walls were designed to withstand Kepler 186 F's caustic atmosphere, not enemy fire. As Sarah Chen watched 3 crystalline ships emerge from hyperspace, their hulls glowing with the same bioluminescent patterns as Vexera's exoskeleton, she knew the station's defenses wouldn't last long against a determined assault. They're symmetric purifiers, Vexera said, their patterns pulsing with what Sarah had learned to recognize as anxiety. Zealots who believe our civilization must undergo forced evolution. They see my bloodline as a symbol of resistance to change. Sarah checked the quantum field generators keeping Vexera stable. Your civilization has existed for millennia. Why push for change now? Because of you. Vexera's 3 eyes focused on her. Humanity. Your species achieved spaceflight in mere centuries. Your adaptability, your constant drive to evolve. It frightens the consensus. The purifiers believe we must transform ourselves or be left behind. The station's AI interrupted. Unknown vessels broadcasting. They're demanding we surrender the sovereign. Sarah felt a chill. The medical bay's windows polarized automatically as another burst of violet lightning illuminated the storm clouds outside. She had sworn an oath to protect her patients, but now that oath had galactic implications. They'll destroy the station, Vexera said softly. You should surrender me. One life isn't worth. No. Sarah's voice was firm. You're my patient. I don't abandon patients. She activated the station's communications. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of Research Station Helios. The Sovereign is under medical care and cannot be moved without risking their life. Under Section 7 of the Galactic Medical Ethics Charter, your human laws mean nothing. A new voice responded, its translation harsh and metallic. The Sovereign's continuation represents stagnation. The consensus must evolve. Evolution. Sarah felt anger rising. You talk about evolution, but you don't understand it. True evolution isn't forced. It comes from adaptation, from learning, from cooperation. What you're proposing isn't evolution, it's extinction. The enemy ship's response was to launch a barrage of energy pulses that shook the station. Warning lights flashed as the outer shields began to fail. But Sarah had been preparing. During Vexera's treatment, she'd learned much about crystalline technology. The quantum fields she'd used for healing could be modified for other purposes. Station, reroute power from all non-essential systems to the quantum array, she ordered. Vexera, I need you to tell me if I'm right about something. Your ships, they use quantum coherence for navigation, don't they? Yes. Vexera's patterns shifted to a curious purple. Our vessels are extensions of ourselves, guided by. They paused, understanding dawning in their triple gaze. You want to disrupt their quantum fields. Sarah nodded, fingers flying over the control panel. The same principle we use to heal you, but instead of harmony. She activated the modified quantum array. Waves of carefully calibrated energy pulsed out from the station. The effect on the attacking ships was immediate. Their crystalline hulls began to flicker and dim, their precise formations wavering. Impossible, the enemy commander's voice crackled. A primitive organic cannet. This primitive organic, Sarah cut in, just spent days learning how your biology works. Want to guess what happens when I increase the frequency? The pursuing ships began to retreat, their quantum systems destabilized by Sarah's improvised defense. But she knew it was only a temporary solution. The purifiers would adapt, return with countermeasures. Vexera watched the ships withdraw, their patterns showing a mix of relief and concern. You've bought us time, but they'll return. And now you've made yourself a target. The purifiers will see you as proof of their beliefs, that organic life is a threat to our way of existence. Sarah continued monitoring the quantum fields, making sure the disruption hadn't affected Vexera's healing. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Your civilization fears change. Well, change just arrived. The question is, what will you do with it? What do you mean? Look at what we've accomplished together. Sarah gestured to the medical equipment, the modified quantum arrays. I learned about your biology, adapted our technology to heal you. You learned that organic life isn't as chaotic as you thought. We've both evolved, not through force, but through cooperation. The station's sensors showed the enemy ships retreating to a safe distance, but Sarah knew this wasn't over. She had protected her patient, but in doing so, she'd entangled herself in a conflict that could reshape the relationship between organic and crystalline life. As another storm front approached the station, bringing fresh waves of violet lightning, Sarah Chen realized that medicine had led her to become something she never expected, a bridge between two fundamentally different forms of life, each with something to teach the other. Vexera's patterns shifted to a color she'd never seen before, one that seemed to combine determination with hope. The purifiers believe that contact with organic life will change us, they said. Perhaps they're right, but not in the way they fear. Sarah smiled, checking the quantum field readings one more time. Change isn't always a threat. Sometimes, it's exactly what the doctor ordered. Outside, the eternal storm of Kepler 186f raged on, its lightning illuminating the standoff between the station and the crystalline ships. Inside, a human doctor and an alien sovereign continued their work of healing, not just bodies now, but the rift between their civilizations. Would you like me to continue with part 4? The story is building toward a resolution that emphasizes cooperation and understanding over conflict while maintaining its medical and scientific foundations. Bridge of Understanding. While the purifier ships maintained their distant vigil, life inside Research Station Helios took on a remarkable rhythm. Sarah found herself learning more about crystalline biology in days than humanity had discovered about itself in centuries. Vexera, in turn, began to see organic life through new eyes. Your cells, Vexera observed, watching Sarah take readings of their recovering exoskeleton. They're constantly dying and being reborn. Yet somehow you maintain coherence, memory, identity. It's beautiful in its way. Sarah adjusted the quantum harmonics, noting how Vexera's bioluminescent patterns had developed subtle new frequencies. We're not so different. Your quantum coherence, our cellular regeneration, both are ways of maintaining balance while constantly changing. The Sovereign's 3 eyes swirled with contemplation. The purifiers speak of forced evolution, but they don't understand. Watching you work, seeing how you adapt and learn. This is true evolution. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert from the station's eye. Dr. Chen, the purifier ships are transmitting again. They're requesting dialogue. Sarah exchanged glances with Vexera, whose patterns shifted to a cautious amber. On the main screen, a new figure appeared, a crystalline being whose form was sharper, more angular than Vexera's, with patterns that pulsed in aggressive reds and violets. "I am Nexus Commander Reichtal," the figure announced. "We have reconsidered our approach. The organics' defense of the Sovereign was unexpected. We wish to understand." Sarah stood beside Vexera's medical pod, her hand unconsciously resting on the quantum field controls. "Understanding is good. Trying to kill my patient isn't." "Your patient," Reichtal's patterns flickered with what might have been amusement. "You claim a member of the luminary consensus, a being of pure quantum coherence, as your patient. By what right?" "By the right of medicine," Sarah replied firmly. "By the universal principle that life, all life, deserves care and protection. You talk about evolution. Look at what we've accomplished here." She transmitted the medical data they'd gathered, the innovations in quantum field therapy, the breakthroughs in crystalline regeneration, the synthesis of organic and crystalline healing techniques. "Impossible." Reichtal's patterns destabilized momentarily. "Our healers have studied these principles for generations. How could a primitive organic?" "Because she doesn't see barriers," Vexera interrupted, their voice stronger now. "She sees bridges. When I crashed here, she didn't see an alien sovereign or a crystalline being. She saw someone who needed help. And in helping me, she's advanced both our understandings." Sarah noticed something fascinating. As Vexera spoke, their patterns began to influence the quantum fields around them in new ways. The Sovereign's recovery hadn't just healed their body, it had evolved their abilities. "The consensus fears change," Vexera continued, their patterns growing brighter. The purifiers demanded. "But true change comes from understanding, from cooperation. Dr. Chen has shown me that organic chaos and crystalline order aren't opposites, they are complementary." Richtel's image flickered as they processed this. "You suggest we should cooperate with organics, accept their disorder into our perfect symmetry." "Perfect." Sarah couldn't help but laugh. "Look at your own biology. The quantum fields that give you life. They're not perfectly ordered. They dance on the edge of chaos and order. That's what makes them work. That's what makes you alive." She pulled up new scans, showing how Vexera's recovery had actually strengthened their quantum coherence by introducing controlled elements of uncertainty, patterns that looked remarkably similar to organic neural networks. "Your healing," Reichtal observed, their patterns showing genuine curiosity now. "It has changed you, Sovereign." "Yes," Vexera agreed. "Not through force, but through adaptation, through understanding, the human way." The medical bay fell silent except for the soft hum of quantum fields. Outside, the eternal storm of Kepler 186 F painted the sky with violet lightning, nature's own display of chaos and order in perfect balance. Perhaps, Reichtel said finally, their patterns settling into more contemplative hues, we have been approaching evolution incorrectly. Your survival, sovereign, and your enhancement through organic medicine suggests possibilities we hadn't considered. Sarah felt a shift in the station's atmosphere. The tension that had pervaded since the purifier's arrival began to ease. She looked at her patient, seeing not just a healed being, but a bridge between worlds. I propose, Vexera said, their patterns radiating with newfound strength, that we establish a new protocol. Let Research Station Helios become a place of learning between our peoples. Let Dr. Chen's medical bay be the first of many places where organic and crystalline life can learn from each other. The implications were staggering. Sarah had set out to save one life, but in doing so, she might have helped save two civilizations from their own fears and prejudices. I'm just a doctor, she said softly. I did what any doctor would do. No, Vexera corrected, their patterns showing what Sarah had learned to recognize as affection. You did more. You showed us that the barrier between organic and crystalline life was one we built ourselves, and now, perhaps, we can begin to break it down. As the purifier ships powered down their weapons, Sarah Chen looked around her medical bay. Now a strange hybrid of human and crystalline technology, of order and chaos, of two different approaches to life itself. She realized that sometimes the greatest medical breakthroughs come not from treating diseases, but from healing the divisions between different forms of life. Would you like me to continue with the final part? We're building toward a conclusion that will show the lasting impact of this encounter on both civilizations. Legacy of Healing. 3 months after the standoff at Research Station Helios, Sarah Chen stood in a chamber that would have been impossible before Vexera's crash. The walls pulsed with intertwined quantum fields and organic patterns, a physical manifestation of the collaboration between human and crystalline science. The newly established Interspecies Medical Research Center occupied an expanded wing of the station, its very existence a testament to how much had changed. Your vital signs are remarkable, Sarah said, examining the readings from Vexera's final checkup. The Sovereign's patterns now displayed complexities that even they hadn't thought possible, organic-inspired adaptations that had emerged during their healing process. Thanks to you, Vexera replied, their 3 eyes swirling with silver joy. Though I suspect neither of us anticipated how far this would go. Sarah smiled, remembering those first desperate hours after the crash. Now, the medical bay hosted researchers from both civilizations. Former purifiers worked alongside human doctors, studying the intersection of quantum coherence and organic biology. What had started as emergency medicine had evolved into a revolution in healing. Dr. Chen, the station's AI announced, the first group of human patients has arrived for quantum therapy trials. This was the next big step, applying crystalline healing techniques to human medicine. Early results had been promising, particularly in neural regeneration and cellular repair. The quantum fields that had saved Vexera's life were now offering hope to patients with conditions once considered untreatable. Nervous? Vexera asked, noting Sarah's intense focus on the medical readings. A little, she admitted. We're literally rewriting the rules of medicine here. Sometimes I wonder if we're moving too fast. And very organic concern, came a familiar voice. Reichtal entered the chamber, their once harsh patterns now flowing in gentler waves. The former purifier commander had become one of the program's strongest advocates, their own evolution a symbol of the changes sweeping through both civilizations. The Consensus Council has approved expanded cooperation, Reichtal announced. They finally accepted that evolution doesn't mean abandoning who we are. It means growing into something more. Sarah watched as human and crystalline medical staff moved through the facility, sharing insights and techniques that would have seemed impossible months ago. The station that had once been a lonely outpost now buzzed with activity, its halls filled with the harmonious blend of human voices and crystalline resonances. "There's something you should see," Vexera said, leading them to the observation dome. The eternal storm of Kepler 186 still raged, but now its violet lightning seemed to dance in rhythm with the quantum fields protecting the station. Watch. A ship emerged from hyperspace, but unlike any ship Sarah had seen before. Its hull was a seamless blend of crystalline lattices and organic curves, crewed by both humans and members of the consensus. "The first of the new medical ships," Reichtal explained. "Built with both our technologies, staffed by both our peoples. They'll reach places neither of us could help alone." Sarah felt a profound sense of completion. What had started with one doctor refusing to abandon a patient had grown into something that would save countless lives across two civilizations. The quantum fields hummed around them, their frequencies carrying echoes of both order and chaos, structure and adaptation. "You know," she said, watching the ship dock with the station, "in human medicine, we have this old symbol, the caduceus, two serpents intertwined around a staff. It represents healing, but also balance, opposing forces working in harmony. Like quantum coherence and organic chaos," Vexera observed, their patterns rippling thoughtfully. "Or like a human doctor and an alien patient learning to trust each other." The medical bay sensors chimed softly, monitoring the vital signs of both crystalline and organic beings throughout the station. Each ping represented a tiny victory. Another barrier broken, another life improved, another step toward a future neither civilization could have imagined alone. "The purifiers were right about one thing," Reichtal mused, their patterns showing what Sarah now recognized as humor. "Contact with organic life did change us, just not in the way we feared." "Change isn't always about becoming something entirely new," Sarah replied, checking the readings on a nearby quantum field generator. "Sometimes it's about becoming more fully what you already are." As she spoke, a group of medical students, human and crystalline, passed by, deep in discussion about the latest breakthroughs in hybrid healing techniques. Their easy cooperation, their shared excitement about the possibilities ahead, was perhaps the greatest testament to what had been achieved. Vexera's patterns shifted to a deep, resonant blue. "When I crashed here, I thought I was going to die on a hostile world. Instead, I found hope in the most unexpected place, a human doctor who saw beyond the differences between us. That's the thing about medicine," Sarah said, watching the lightning paint the sky outside. "It teaches you that life, in all its forms, follows certain universal principles: healing, growth, adaptation. In the end, we're all just trying to find balance." The station hummed around them, quantum fields and organic systems working in perfect harmony. Research Station Helios had become more than a medical facility. It was a bridge between worlds, a testament to the power of healing to transform not just bodies, but entire civilizations. As Sarah Chen prepared to welcome the first human patients for quantum therapy, she realized that every medical breakthrough throughout history had started the same way, with someone looking at the impossible and seeing possibility instead. She had sworn an oath to heal, never knowing it would lead her to heal the rift between two forms of life. Outside, the eternal storm of Kepler 186f raged on, its violet lightning now a reminder not of isolation, but of the electric possibility of connection. Within the station's walls, the future of both human and crystalline medicine was being written, one healing at a time. The legacy of those desperate hours after Vexera's crash would echo across the galaxy for generations to come, a reminder that sometimes the greatest healings begin with a simple choice to help, regardless of the differences between doctor and patient. Would you like me to provide the SEO-optimized title and description for the complete story now? I can craft those to help maximize its reach while maintaining the integrity of the narrative.